Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Melissa, but if you are one of my inquisitive subscribers and you've been following along, then you already know that you can call me Missy. Today we are reading chapter 3 of this antique self-help book. It was published in 1915 and it is called Personality: How to Build It. But if you haven't seen the first if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, then you can go ahead and watch those, but I'm going to give you a brief summary real quick. It'll refresh the memories of all of you out there that have seen the first few installments of this series. However, if you haven't seen them, you can go back and watch them. They're great. Or you can just keep watching this one. Chapter 1 was telling us all about what is personality. Personality? What does it mean? I've never heard of it. And there was a whole chapter and it boiled down to fame. Basically, there are people that are famous because they're awesome, and there are people that are famous because they really suck. And then there are people that are famous because they were just born that way, honey. Chapter 2 was all about the qualities that we need to become famous. What are these qualities of personality that we need? This chapter helpfully ended with a list of qualities that we want to cultivate and qualities that we want to suppress. The qualities that we want to cultivate are care and vigilance, energetic sincerity, perspicacity, which means essentially shrewdness, determination, perseverance. The defects which we want to suppress or overcome, as the book puts it, are pride, envy, jealousy, and conceit. Now today's chapter is called Paying Attention to the Opinion of Others. So just be yourself, but only be the version of yourself that other people want you to be. So we're gonna dive right into that right now, but first I'm going to ceremonially, this does not bode well. We are going to light this candle that I've had for way too long. Cue pomp and circumstance. There it goes. Now that we've set the mood, let's get into the book. Time to learn how to be the best version of ourselves. Are y'all ready? I'm sure you are because you clicked on this video and I just did a long intro. Chapter 3, Paying Attention to the Opinion of Others. Men appreciate one another with reluctance. I love that. First of all, I think to some degree this is a symptom of homophobia, where men will appreciate one another but reluctantly because, you know, they don't want people to be thinking that they're gay. Which I understand from a certain standpoint. You want the people that you're down to clown with to know that you are down. Some guys take it too far. Another thing, if you want to think of it as mankind instead of just man, like human beings appreciate each other with reluctance. Yeah, people suck, but people are also freaking awesome. And so we're reluctant to appreciate other people because we're like, are you one of the sucks or are you one of the awesomes?
By the way, if you are one of the awesomes, go ahead and drop a flex emoji in the comments.
And I like the only way to know if somebody sucks or if they're awesome is to get to know them.
Or if they drop the flex emoji in the comments.
And so like, you're like, okay, I appreciate you. Reluctantly. Men appreciate one another with reluctance. They have but a feeble inclination to approve of one another in action, conduct, or thought. Nothing pleases easily. Each of us is full of his suppressed ideas, his ready-made judgments, and personal opinions. I think another way in which I can be reluctant to appreciate others is that I get freaking jealous. That's one of my toxic traits, is like, if somebody's awesome, sometimes I'm like, I don't skip right to I love you, I skip to like, I'm jealous of you. Like, it's a little toxic. I'm working on it, okay guys? I guess this is envy. This is the envy and jealousy that I have to overcome. To make oneself understood and to please at the same time is a difficulty almost unsurmountable. Prejudice, injustice, and abuse have to be encountered. Yeah, like, I'm not for everyone, you're not for everyone, nobody's for everyone. Like, the most famous people are both loved and hated. The judgment of others is a severe tribunal before which one appears not as the accused, but always as the guilty. It remains with oneself to choose a spirited lawyer to carry one's defense through to success. We've got a little courtroom metaphor going on here. Order, order, order in the court. So essentially what they're saying is that in the world, off and about, we are guilty until proven innocent. Yeah, that tracks. The great sentiment to anticipate in the judgment of others is jealousy. It is a universal feeling that appears in 1,000 forms to show itself the better, and to avenge itself the more. He's telling us that other people are going to judge us, but in doing so, he's essentially encouraging us to judge others and be like, you're judging me, and you know what? You're just jealous. Y'all are jealous, okay? I can be reluctant to appreciate others is that I get freaking jealous. That's one of my toxic traits.
It's me. Hi. I'm the problem, it's me.
We know how H. Laurent dealt with his haters now. He was just like, you're judging me and y'all are just jealous. To make good in spite of the judgment of others, one must be diplomatic. One must be adroitly ingratiating and flatter in each the wishes that governs his soul, or sympathize with the infirmities that afflict his body. It is the best way to make an impression and to win. It really does say that. I don't know why that felt so sinister to say and to win. So essentially, in order to overcome other people's inevitable jealousy, because let's just say y'all are jealous. That's just our baseline. We know that everyone's jealous of us because we're awesome. But how do we overcome their jealousy? We have to flatter them, perhaps being a little self-deprecating. I'm pretty good at that. On this subject, I am going to tell you a little story, which will serve as a paradox to the attention we pay to the judgment of others. Vasily Sergei was a very poor man who lived in a cabin still poorer, which was neither a protection against the cold of winter nor the burdening heat of summer. Vasily Sergei had a wife and 5 children. Oh crap. I'm getting secondhand stress. He was so poor and miserable, he begged his bread by the wayside. Christmas came. Oh no. Oh no, things are just getting worse. Vasily Sergei's 5 children cried from cold and hunger. His wife was sick from want. I feel like the way illness is described in old literature is just kind of funny. It's very mysterious, and I guess, like, to some extent, that makes sense because, you know, there were probably scientific professionals that understood this stuff, but the lay person, the average person, wouldn't understand things on the same level as the scientists and experts. And even then, the science was pretty new. We have had the science for much longer than they have had the science. What happens? The man, distraught, goes to the nearest village and begins to steal. First, he steals a beautiful fat goose that they cooked that one night. You know, the beautiful fat goose that they cooked that one night. Obviously. Then he stole some wine. He stole every day and became so skillful that Vasily Sergei no longer suffered from hunger and want. Little by little, the comforts of life came to his hearth. He left the fields and the high road for the large cities and the great avenues. He moved from his cabin to live in a beautiful house. Did he steal the house too? Like, is he now, like, selling the stuff that he stole? Because that seems like a really easy way to get caught. Like, somebody comes to your yard sale where you've got, like, expensive stuff from bougie houses, and they're like, how the hell did you get this stuff, Sergei, Vasily, living in your shack that doesn't even provide shelter from cold or warmth. Vasily Sergey's wife, well-gowned, became pleasing and agreeable. You know, when I'm well-gowned, I too become pleasing and agreeable. If I feel like I'm looking fine, I'm also acting fine. I'm acting fine. Vasily Sergey's children grew beautiful. Secretly, Vasily Sergey taught his offspring the lucrative business that had made him rich. At last, Vasily Sergey became very rich and possessed great treasure. But it happened also that one fine day, notwithstanding his skill, he was discovered, pursued, trapped. Now see, here's the thing. Vasily Sergey needed to learn how to steal from people without stealing from people, right? Like, he needed to learn to sell snake oil. He needed to learn to sell family-sized bags of Lay's chips that are mostly air, and then you've got like a snack packs portion at the bottom. That's what Vasily Sergey needed to learn. You don't steal outright, you steal by selling bags of air. He received the bad news in his beautiful parlor, surrounded by his wife and children. An ill-looking man had come to the house who demanded to speak with Vasily Sergey. The big thief did not flinch and begged the man to come in with his most amiable tone of voice. He welcomed the visitor, who was a detective, followed by a large escort who remained outside. So he's an ill-looking man, as detectives are. The family were all talking, sipping wine in a familiar and unconstrained way. Vasily spoke to the man as he entered. "I know what you have come to do. I give myself up. The guard is at the door. I will go with them immediately, but as a favor, let me finish this little lunch." He pointed to a side table on which a savory collection was spread. The detective looked at it with the big eyes of a gourd man. With the big eyes of a gourmand, which made the thief tremble with joy. Vasily said to him, "If your appetite bids you, sir, have a little bite with me." Oh, so now this detective, he's an ill-looking man. Does he look bad? Or does he look like he's sick? Does he look sickly? Is it ill as in he looks sickly, or is it ill as in he just looks bad? Or is he ill looking because he just looks like angry? Is it angry ill? I can't tell. Maybe it's supposed to be like he just looks like a pavo. Vasily's like, "You look like a pavo. You want to eat some of my nice food, you know, get cozy. He offered to his sinister caller a large glass of rare wine and drew toward him the side table laden with excellent dishes, smoking hot. Unable to resist, the man accepted. The wife of Vasily Sergey stole softly out of the room and went to the door where the guard was stationed. She beckoned to the first soldier, who, astonished at her beauty, grace, and elegance, came quickly. "Go and wait for your chief in the kitchen, my friend. There are some delicious things there which will be lost. Honest soldiers may profit by them if the rascally servants of Vasily Sergey are going to the gallows." She spoke in this way to each soldier. They were all only too glad to be led to the feast, so artfully proposed and so bountiful as delectable. In the parlor, the chief tasted everything, ate everything. Then he had a good cigar and liqueurs. 2 hours later, the chief and the soldiers were dead drunk. Vasily, his wife and children undressed the soldiers, clothed themselves in the uniforms, and left the perilous town for a quieter abode. Also, they carried away a great deal of plunder. Everywhere they passed, they were treated with a great deal of respect and were allowed to proceed until they reached the frontier, where they became themselves again and were able to seek with freedom a less hostile country. Meanwhile, at Vasily's house, the chief and the soldiers awoke, shocked at the plot. They were amazed at the good living of their host and the cleverness of the thieves. They did not get angry. Why? They were good men serving under implacable and ferocious masters. They had feasted and slept on velvet. The thieves escaped only after treating their enemies well. Hurrah for the fugitives! So they tell the story. It may be there was a little more of stupefaction and of anger shown, but on reflection, all account taken, perhaps the story, as told, is the true one. Vasily Sergei knew how to treat his guests. He paid attention to them and to their judgment. In this way, he kept his life and his liberty. And who knows? Perhaps he had the gratitude of brave troopers who, for once in their lives, attained the delights of satisfied gluttony. Okay, so now he's saying it like it's a true story, but he's going to tell us a little bit about it in a sec. I tell the story for what it's worth. It is Russian, and in the Russian is very amusing, without doubt, and passes for the truth. However that may be, the judgment of others is like the guard who came to arrest Vasily Sergei. To make a friend of such an enemy, one must skillfully lay hold to his weaknesses and content them. By making of him an amiable prisoner, he becomes a help when one has to pass before his severe tribunal. So instead of being self-deprecating, you want to like invite others to your feast, right? So you're like, I'm trying to make this metaphor work. It was feeling a little bit like a shower argument. Like H. Laurent was in the shower, he's sudsed up, and he's thinking, you know what? Vasily Sergei. We're just going to imagine the entire life of Vasily Sergei. He starts out in this horrible cottage. It's literal garbage. And his wife is freaking sick of it. But you know what? What if I stole instead? And then he gets freaking rich just stealing stuff. He's like Ocean's 11 out here, and he's getting away with it. I have no idea. I've never watched those movies. You just have an absolute rager at your house with the arresting officer and his backup, and then they all just pass out drunk in your house, and you steal their clothes, and you get away scot-free. But actually, he's saying, like, metaphorically, someone comes up to you and you imagine that they are just thinking the worst of you. So you have to ingratiate yourself to them. I'm assuming by offering them compliments, like I think metaphorically, right? But I think that it could also just be showing a genuine interest in that other person. People are starved for connection. And so if you can give them a feeling of connection, a feeling of being understood, then that's like a metaphorical feast. I think particularly in our day and age right now, people on the internet willfully misunderstand each other. So I think that, like, to a certain degree, just being a little relatable can go a long way towards ingratiating yourself towards others. That's what I'm going to take out of this. Let me know what your take is on this whole thing in the comments down below. And just comment down below if you have ever been a Vasily Sergei. That's the end of the chapter. That was a fun chapter. I liked the little story. It's funny because at the end of it, he's like, now I know I didn't tell it well, but it's really funny in Russian. Like, you just have to hear it in Russian. It's hilarious. Like, you had to be there. So yeah, that's chapter 3. Thank you all so much for watching to the end of this video. If you liked anything about this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you would like to see more of what I do, I read this book, I do sewing projects, I do home improvement projects, I do art projects, I'll do random stuff. So if you would like to see anything else that I do, please go ahead and subscribe. We're just here for fun. We're just here for a good time. So come along, and I'll be able to see you in the next video. We had a ceremonial lighting of the candle, so we must have a ceremonial extinguishing of the candle. Goodbye!